The practice of meditation has been associated for thousands of years with states of calm, mental clarity, and greater awareness. In ancient traditions from India, China, and Tibet, it has long been described as a tool capable of deeply transforming the human mind. For a long time, however, these claims were viewed by the scientific world as something difficult to measure or verify. In recent decades, neuroscience has begun to seriously investigate what happens in the brain when a person meditates regularly. The results of this research have opened a fascinating field of study, the possibility that meditation may actually change the structure and functioning of the human brain. To understand this idea, we must begin with a central concept in modern neuroscience known as neuroplasticity. For many years, scientists believed that the human brain developed only during childhood and that once adulthood was reached, its structures remained mostly fixed. However, research conducted throughout the 20th century revealed something very different. The brain is a dynamic organ capable of reorganizing its neural connections throughout life. Every repeated thought, every strong emotion, and every frequent behavior strengthens certain neural circuits while others weaken. In other words, what we repeatedly think and do literally helps shape the architecture of the brain. This principle opened a new way of understanding how habits are formed and how profound changes can occur over time. Within this context, meditation began attracting scientific interest because it involves a specific kind of mental training. Unlike many everyday activities, meditation requires sustained attention, conscious observation of thoughts, and regulation of emotions. This means that when someone practices meditation regularly, they are exercising neural networks related to attention, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. Several studies conducted at universities and research centers around the world began investigating what happens in the brains of experienced meditators. One of the most well-known researchers in this area is Richard Davidson from the University of Wisconsin. His studies using electroencephalography and brain imaging showed that experienced meditators display brain patterns different from those observed in people who have never practiced meditation. In some experiments, experienced meditators demonstrated very high levels of gamma wave activity, a type of electrical brain activity associated with intense attention and integration between different brain regions. These findings suggest that long-term mental training may indeed alter the way the brain processes information. Another important study was conducted by Sara Lazar from Harvard University. Using neuroimaging techniques, her team compared the brains of people who meditated regularly with those of individuals with no meditation experience. Researchers observed structural differences in specific regions of the brain, including areas related to memory, learning, and emotional regulation. In some cases, certain regions showed greater cortical thickness in meditators, suggesting that continuous mental training may strengthen particular brain areas over time. These results were especially significant because they indicate that meditation does not only influence temporary mental states, but may also produce measurable structural changes in the brain. Another important aspect investigated by scientists is the impact of meditation on brain structures involved in emotional processing. One such structure is the amygdala, known for its role in detecting threats and generating fear and stress responses. Some studies suggest that regular meditation practice may be associated with reduced reactivity in this region when facing stressful stimuli. In simple terms, this may mean that meditators develop a greater capacity to observe difficult emotions without reacting automatically to them. This ability to create a small pause between stimulus and reaction is often described as one of the major benefits of meditation. From a neuroscience perspective, this shift may reflect stronger communication between areas of the brain responsible for conscious thinking and regions involved in automatic emotional responses. In other words, meditation may help strengthen the brain systems involved in emotional regulation and self-control. Researchers have also been studying how meditation influences what neuroscientists call the default mode network, a brain network associated with self-referential thinking such as remembering the past, imagining the future, and reflecting on one's identity. Studies suggest that during meditation, activity in this network decreases, which may be related to the sense of mental quietness frequently reported by practitioners. When the default mode network becomes less active, the mind tends to move away from repetitive thought cycles and become more focused on the present moment. This shift may help explain why many people report greater mental clarity and reduced anxiety after practicing meditation. By quieting constant internal narratives and mental distractions, the brain may enter a more balanced and attentive state. In recent years, scientific interest in meditation has expanded into fields such as medicine, psychology, and psychiatry. Programs based on mindful awareness, commonly referred to as mindfulness, are now being studied as complementary tools in the treatment of conditions such as anxiety, depression, and chronic stress. While meditation is not a universal cure, scientific evidence suggests that it may help improve emotional regulation and resilience when facing difficult situations. Within this framework, many researchers describe meditation as a form of mental training comparable to physical exercise for the body. Just as muscles grow stronger through repeated use, certain neural circuits may become more efficient through repeated practice of attention and awareness. It is important to note that lasting changes in the brain usually do not occur instantly. Like any form of learning, neural reorganization depends on repetition and consistency over time. Some studies suggest that even a few weeks of regular meditation can produce detectable changes in patterns of brain activity. However, deeper and more stable benefits typically emerge with months or years of consistent practice. This perspective helps explain why traditional meditation practices have always emphasized discipline and regularity. The mental transformation described in many contemplative traditions may partly reflect real biological processes of neural reorganization. As scientists continue exploring these findings, meditation is increasingly viewed not only as a spiritual or philosophical practice, but also as a legitimate subject of scientific investigation. Although many questions remain unanswered, current research suggests that the human mind has a remarkable ability to influence the brain itself. Through focused attention, repeated experience, and emotional engagement, new neural circuits can strengthen while older patterns may gradually weaken. In this sense, what we mentally practice every day contributes to shaping who we become over time. Meditation, in this context, can be seen as a tool that allows individuals to deliberately train attention and awareness. Instead of allowing automatic thoughts to constantly dominate the mind, meditation invites a person to observe these thoughts with greater clarity. This simple shift in perspective can profoundly change the relationship we have with our emotions, memories, and mental habits. Modern neuroscience is still uncovering the details of this process, but the evidence accumulated over the past decades points toward a compelling conclusion. The human brain is not a fixed and unchangeable structure. It is an adaptive system continuously shaped by experience. And mental practices such as meditation may, over time, influence this process of transformation in ways that science is only beginning to fully understand.